So after Assassin's Creed Origins came out, I thought to myself, all right, this is the way Assassin's Creed is going to go for the foreseeable future. They got the combat changes, the side quests, the grinding RPG style. I wasn't an entire fan of it, but I said, you know what, I'm going to have to get used to it. It's the way it's going to be for a while. And so when they announced Odyssey, I said, okay, let's see if they can fix some things. I see they're doing this interesting dialogue stuff. I'm ready to play as my girl Cassandra. I'm ready to tear it up in Greece. Let's see where this takes me. And so finally, about a month later, I beat the game. My review takes forever to come out. I apologize. I will finally share my thoughts. Unfortunately, I won't be able to share them fully because I feel like this is a very difficult game for me to talk about without going into spoilers. From the nature of the story, it's very hidden from what I can tell from most of the trailers. So it's going to be hard to not talk about that. And also, if I do, it's going to stretch this review out to way too long. So I'm going to do a separate video where I kind of chop it up, talk about spoilers and also other instances of possible issues coming in the future thanks to this game. But that's for later. First, let's just get right into the review. So first I'm going to talk about the story of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. As I said, it's very hard to talk about without spoiling, but I will say there are three story paths, three main plot lines. The first plot line is essentially, just for the sake of the review, I'm just going to say Cassandra because I did not play as Alexios and it's going to confuse me if I try to keep talking about it. Essentially, the first plot line is you, Cassandra, trying to bring your family together. Things happen that kind of spread your family apart. Good things, not really. Mostly bad stuff. A lot of bad things happen in your childhood and to other people in your family. Spread them all apart. And you're just trying to, piece your family back together. And for me, it's mostly a story. This plotline and the other two, well, mostly one other plotline, it's a story of self-discovery to me. You're trying to find out as Cassandra, who are you in the world in your relation to other people? Why are you important? Why is everything around you happening? What are the reasons behind it? And I found it a very interesting way to do it with the three plot lines, but I didn't feel like it was necessary to separate it into three distinct plot lines that are like actual three different quests in the main story. They could have condensed it into one. So transitioning into the second plot line, which is kind of hard to talk about, but basically you are having to track down and kill an organization. It is not the Templars. I'm going to say right now, there really aren't any Templars or assassins in the game at all. You're basically just trying to track down and kill these group of people who kind of had a hand in fragmenting your family. And so you're trying to piece together who they are, which is actually, I kind of enjoyed trying to figure out who the people were and piecing them together till I got to the end because I just wanted to beat the game. But you can, if you really want to, just go by the clues. And be like, oh, who's this person? Who's this person? But you're just trying to figure out who the people are so you can kill them and get revenge if you feel, or if they wronged you and all that stuff. I will say, though, one nitpick I did have, they, to my knowledge, never said anything about being able to keep any of these people alive instead of killing them. And as it plays a role in the story later, it doesn't ruin stuff, but it made some relationships I had with characters not as great as if I would have known I could have kept certain people alive. But that's just a small nitpick. The last storyline is very, very hard to not talk about without spoiling. I will attempt to. Essentially, the third plot line deals greatly with the origins, no pun intended, of the last game, the origins of Cassandra, and really, really where she fits in with the whole world and her greater purpose. It was a very interesting twist, I thought, to the series, as I don't think it's ever happened before, her origin story, because usually it's the people who you are as going into the Animus, they're related to the people of the history, instead of the people in history being related to something else. That's all I'll say about that. Overall, the story was pretty solid to me. I liked it, but they could have definitely condensed it. This game took me around 48 hours to beat that first plot point I was talking about, and then 60 to beat all three. So, very long to me. And I will also say, kind of a side note for the story, it could be a story of revenge, depending if you feel like you were wronged by Sparta. But to me, I didn't really care about anything that happened relating to Sparta. I didn't take it really any personally at all. It was mostly the fault of the second plot line, the evil organization, I will say. It was more their fault. So I didn't really have any revenge against Sparta plotline that some people may have gotten from it. So next I'm going to transition into the setting. I will say the setting is better than Origins. I really liked ancient Greece. It was much more vibrant. I will say, you know how Origins, it was all about that desert. Well, Odyssey is all about that forest, and there was a lot of it. To me, actually, the game, many times when I was in the forest, felt like Skyrim, believe it or not. And it just took me back to playing Skyrim in those really dense forests with the fall colors, with the leaves were turning, wolves were coming out. I was like, this feels like Skyrim to me. And I kind of enjoyed that. That did make me realize, however, I really only remembered the forest. And it brings me to my next point, is the cities were very... Each city felt very same to me. They, not a lot really differentiated them to me, other than one city that had like billions of octopuses like dead everywhere, which terrible shame on them. How dare you kill my favorite animal? But no, I'm just joking. But the cities felt very the samey, and I don't know how much of that I can fault on the creators of the game because of this example. Each city has a temple to, let's say, the Temple of Poseidon, where the people have to go pray. Well, after I climbed that monument, that temple, on 10 different islands, and they're all architecturally exactly the same, there's a bunch of those for every single god. And it gets to the point where I'm like, this all feels very much the same. All these viewpoints, nothing's changed at all. It's always the same temple with the little spade-shaped viewpoint. And that was a big negative to me. I didn't like that at all. I feel like they could have... I know they don't like to stretch the truth a whole lot, but I feel like with the architecture, they could have done a little more just to differentiate everything. One last note I will say about Greece is ancient Greece would be wild. People be getting snatched by wolves in the background while I run into a city. There's bears running around. There's mountain lions jumping people. There's, in a cutscene I was talking with this one woman, and she's like, Greece is finally at peace, while there's a bunch of ships just crashing into each other right off into the ocean. I just really liked how the world felt alive. Next, I'm going to transition into the characters. Characters for me were a bit hit, very high hit, and very, very low miss. I'm going to start with the miss. All of these side characters I really couldn't care less about at all, except for maybe one, my boy Brasidas. He was dope, but other than him, I really didn't care about anyone else in the game. Cassandra's family, they're okay, but I didn't like them, and there wasn't anything that made me be like, I really care for this character. Nothing like that happened. Now I'm going to transition into the high point. Personally, I think Cassandra is one of the best characters in any Assassin's Creed game. Her voice actor did super, amazing job to me. She nailed her personality great. She did the motion capture for it too, her performance capture. So she nailed the movements. Everything about this character just seemed really great for me. She's up there with like Ezio and Edward. She's like up there for me. But I do have a slight quandary, and it's that, do I think Cassandra's a great character because of the great work her voice actor did and the performance they gave? Or is it because I could pick choices as to what I think her personality should be with the dialogue selections, and that kind of formed her character for me. And it's kind of a tale of, is she a well written character, or did my choices make her well written? That's just the thing that I kind of think about in the back of my head that kind of holds me up on the game when in my rankings.
I saw Empedocles risk his greatest treasure, running naked through a military camp and showed no fear. There is clearly something special about this man.
You've made no friends today.
Who needs friends when I have the gods?
Thank you for your support, Mistios. In the future, my Empedocles could use someone with your talents.
Even a god won't work for free.
Of course. What else would I spend my drachmae on? Clothes?
Clothes would do you some good.
You're just scared of my true form. But first,
So you're not the god of getting to the point.
the likeness is terrifyingly good, don't you think?
Terrifying, yes. What did you need?
A god never needs help. But yes, please. I've been having trouble with my brothers and sisters.
The gods?
Rejoice! For I, your humble god, shall introduce you to my brothers and sisters. Athena awaits you. Ares demands your audience.
That's a big promise.
You doubt me?
I doubt you could get us to the ocean. It's behind you, by the way.
How dare you mock? I'm a god! A god! What am I? A god?
Thanks for clearing that up.
We said...
Next, I'm going to talk about the gameplay, hit on a bunch of topics with the gameplay. My number one nitpick with the gameplay, I don't know if this happened to anyone else or if this was a big issue, but I cannot count the countless times where the free running in this game was just trash. This is easily for me probably the worst free running game in the series. I know it happens in every game. You try to climb something, you're like, I should be able to climb this, but you can't. It has not happened more times than it ever has in this game to me. It happens at least, I don't know, 10 times more than it has in any other game. It's happened enough for me to notice it and put it in this review. And I think, I don't know, maybe I'm just really bad at climbing cliffs, but I should be able to climb things that are 1 inch above me. I'm like, oh, there's a crack in the wall. I should be able to climb up this mountain. Nope, you can't. You're just stuck here hanging for no reason. And I was like, they really screwed this up. Next, I'm going to talk about the combat. Very big contrast for me. Origins, I hated the combat. I thought it was trash. Odyssey, I really liked the combat, actually. I don't think they changed anything other than me not having to use a shield, I think. It just didn't feel as defensive. I used the heavy blunt weapons pretty much by default because I discovered with certain abilities you can just negate everyone's defenses and just destroy everything, which I never even would have thought of touching those weapons in Origins just because I felt like I had to play super defensive. So I really like the combat in Odyssey. Next, I'm going to touch on... Oh, one thing before I progress. I did play on normal difficulty, so with the weapons, I will say I felt like I really never needed to use any of the engravings to buff my weapons up. You can do it if you want. I just never felt the game was hard enough on normal difficulty to do it. Possibly on harder difficulties, it will be needed, but that was just me wanting to touch on that as it was a thing of the gameplay. Next thing I want to touch on is the new side quests and the sort of new dialogue options that we were given in this game. The side quests really, really very similar to Origins, really fleshed out Cassandra's personality and her mannerisms and everything. Just made me like her a whole lot more, and definitely made the world of Greece feel a lot more alive. So I can definitely say that it was very similar to my thoughts in Origins. I felt like it really helped out Bayek as a character and really made the world feel alive.
What? Mistios! Kill this snake! See
I'm sorry, my love. Give me a moment. Some peasants need my attention.
You did really, though, I will say, have to play side missions. They were forced upon you. As I was a person that liked to save side things for last in the past Assassin's Creed games. Once again, same with Origins, you were forced to play side quests to grind levels because you would have to go to a new location and enemies would be 5 levels higher than you and you have to grind levels out. Another nitpick I will have with the side quests are a lot of them felt pretty much the same. About 80% of the quests are either, hey, go get me these items, they're fetch quests, or my husband and or child and or uncle or something is missing. They went to go hunt down a wolf. They're an idiot. Go find them. I'm like, all right.
Mistios, my husband.
What's wrong with him?
He's an idiot.
That's one problem I can't solve.
He's a fisherman who thought he could make better drachmi hunting lynx. Spent everything we had on a bow. I haven't seen him in 3 days. Please, Mistios, will you find my idiot?
Not only will I find your idiot, I'll bring him home.
I cannot tell you how many side quests I tried to get recorded while doing this video that weren't that type of quests because all the dialogue wasn't interesting. That, I will say, was a big negative for me. Kind of in the end game. Was not very pleased with that. Now to touch on the ability of having dialogue choices. I feel like I'm okay with having dialogue options, especially when it comes to like finding certain locations in a quest. But I think they might have taken them a bit too far, as certain ones really impact the story that kind of screws up continuity with a few things that I can't touch on because of spoilers, but a few of the dialogue choices really do have large consequences, and certain characters you're led to believe you have to kill them all, and then the game's like, oh, you didn't really need to do that. So I don't know, they never really fully explained that that was a thing that was going to happen. So I would be 100% okay with dialogue choices coming back because it really shows off the actor's abilities in creating your character. But at the same time, they're a little too much. Last thing for gameplay I want to talk on is the naval stuff. Naval battles were fine. For me, they're easier than other games because you only had 2 weapons, as opposed to you had to fire the mortars and the chain cannons and the cannons and the flaming cannons and all that stuff. I did really like traveling by boat for one simple fact, and that's because you can't run into land anymore. And I know people are like, oh, that's unrealistic, but I would be like, all right, I need to go to this island many like thousands of meters away. I'm gonna go forward on my boat, and I'm gonna go AFK and go make some food, and I'll come back and I'm almost there. So you could, because your ship's faster than any other enemy ship that I found. Maybe that's, I don't know, unless I just got lucky, I guess. But you can pretty much go AFK and do whatever you want while your ship's sailing, and you'll be fine. Last thing I want to touch on, because I know this is getting kind of long, but the modern day needs to be touched on as much as I can without spoilers. The modern day took very big risks that I feel will cause big problems in the future. I can't touch on it, but they really need to figure out what they want to do with these characters, because I feel as if they serve no purpose. And Layla, her character, I don't want to blame the actor, or maybe it's the animation or the writing, but something just seems off about her that just makes me not care about her at all. I don't know if it's the way her lines are delivered, but something about her is just like, I don't care. And it really doesn't feel like it leaves off a bunch of stuff that you would have thought it'd pick up right after Origins. You're like, oh, I'm going with William Miles. I'm going to pick up right where that was. And you're like with some stranger you never met, with a team you don't know, and you have to learn about them all through, once again, reading emails and stuff. And Don't make your player of the game have to go seek out the information and read it. Just have the characters speak. Give us a cutscene. It's not that hard. But sadly, modern day, I don't know if that's ever coming back, and maybe that's a topic for another day. One last nitpick that I have on the game before I finish this review off is they once again just keep removing aspects of social stealth and like the tenets of the creed. You know, when you jump off a viewpoint, you stay in the haystack, or when you're in an enemy camp, you can hide in the haystack. You can't hide in haystacks anymore. Like, why would you remove that as an option in the game? It makes no sense to me as a core thing of Assassin's Creed, and just like gameplay wise, why would you not make me able to hide in a huge hiding spot in the entire franchise? It makes no sense to me. And as I said earlier, for modern day, it's definitely a topic that I'll touch on in another video in the near future. So with all that being said, let me try to wrap up my final thoughts on this video because it's kind of long. So overall, I would say Odyssey is a very solid game, and I enjoyed it, but it's very, very hard for me to rank because it's quite honestly not even like any other Assassin's Creed games core aspects. There's not really any creed. There's not really any Templars. There's not that struggle. And as I said about the social stealth, they're getting rid of that, and it's just, it felt more to me as just a action adventure game. If you got rid of viewpoints, I really couldn't see any other reason why this would be an Assassin's Creed game. And obviously the super special lore, but gameplay wise, there's nothing that was like, this is an Assassin's Creed game. So in that aspect, it's really hard for me to rank because I say those things, but I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with the game. I liked Cassandra. I enjoyed the combat. My nitpicks are mostly story based and future franchise based, but overall, it's hard for me to rank. I honestly, part of the reason it took me so long to do this review is because I don't even know where to rank it in my list of Assassin's Creed games. Because, as I said, it's not really an Assassin's Creed game. I will say I can give it about a 7.8 to 8 out of 10, if that helps. I enjoyed it. I liked it more than Origins. I can say that 100%. So I guess I like it more than the games below that I have below Origins, but I don't know where to put it vertically on the list above Origins. So hopefully, if you guys do want to hear the spoilers, go check that video out. It'll be out pretty much the same day as this one. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you liked Odyssey or not, let me know. Comments if you disagree with me, let me know. Just share your thoughts, because this is a very interesting point in the Assassin's Creed franchise that I feel is a bigger turning point than Origins was. Odyssey is definitely a game that is going to usher on a big change, I feel, with the option of choices and the way the story is going. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Teddy Creek, I'm out. Peace.